Hey viewers, if you want your stories, experiences of infidelity, breakup, cheating, to be narrated and get featured to others in our Mr. Cool's Planet community, feel free to submit your stories to the mail given in description. Either way, please don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. Let's go.
Welcome back to Mr. Cool's Planet, where we share real stories about love, heartbreak, and everything in between, so sit back, relax, and let's dive in. I just found out about affair. I 35M just found out this past Saturday that my soon-to-be ex-wife 34F has been having at least 2 affairs. My therapist is on vacation for 2 weeks and I just need to talk to some people that understand what I'm going through. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I have been married for 10 years, together for 12, have a 6 and 7-year-old together, house, 2 dogs, etc. We always had a really strong, though I'm now realizing kind of codependent relationship. At the beginning of last year, she left her teaching career of 9 years to pursue opening her own business. Well, the business wasn't profitable. I told her not to do it, but it was one of those mistakes I had to let her make. When she wasn't making money with it, we still needed her income to support our household. So she started waiting, bartending to make up the money. This left me taking care of more than ever around the house. I work full-time and she was working 70-ish hours a week between the business and bartending. This left me doing literally all of the housework. The only chore she ever did was occasionally help fold laundry, as well as me doing 90% of the parenting since I was home with the kids alone 4 to 5 days a week. During this time, I started struggling with depression and anxiety because I felt like I was drowning, but my wife's desire to own her own business was more important than our family. Well, towards the end of the year, she started to finally realize that the business wasn't going to succeed and decided to close it down. During this time she became incredibly emotionally distant, didn't want to talk to me about a lot of stuff, didn't want to be touched by me, etc. Mind you, we were very close before all of this. We were extremely touchy-feely and always holding or touching each other. At the end of November she told me she wanted to separate, out of the blue. She said she needed to live on her own to find herself. Well, this pretty much broke me, considering I was already depressed and anxious. I started having panic attacks, couldn't work, couldn't function at all. I had to have my parents come down for a few days to take care of the kids because I couldn't do anything. I should also mention that my mother died at a young age, so I have abandonment issues. My wife abandoning me was too much for me to handle. Lucky for me, I do have a good support network between family and friends, so through their support I was able to pull myself up, get on anxiety, depression medication, start going to therapy, start working out every single day to give me a healthy outlet for the emotions. My soon-to-be ex went back and forth for a couple of months saying she didn't know what she wanted. Some days, weeks she would be like normal and wanting to cuddle and hug me, some days, weeks she was like a cold rock. Strangely, through all of this we continued to have sex. The bedroom was never a problem in our relationship. She finally decided to leave at the end of January and got her own apartment. We agreed to split custody of the kids 50-50. I had started to make really good progress on myself since then. Therapy has helped a lot. I'm now in incredible shape from working out so much. I've made new friends and gotten closer to old friends. I've faced and started to work through my trauma with my mom. I started to love myself and realize my worth. 2 weeks ago I told her I want a divorce because I deserve so much better than what she's doing to me. I deserve someone who knows that I'm what they want. But then this past Saturday my soon-to-be ex asked me if I'd be willing to go get drinks and talk. Her mom had out kids for the night. I agreed and picked her up. We went out and got drinks and she profusely apologized for everything. She said I'm what she wants and she doesn't want to lose me. That she realized how much she took me for granted. One thing led to another and we ended up back at her place and had sex. When we finished I looked her in the eyes and told her to be totally honest, and asked her if there had been anyone else in the picture. Had she been with anyone? Talked to anyone, etc. She admitted to sleeping with one man while we were separated, even though we agreed to remain loyal during this time. I was very hurt, but thankful that she told me when I asked. She swore it was a one-time thing and she felt like shit about it and it was over. I told her I needed some time to process it. She went to take a shower, and while she was in the shower I picked up her phone and looked at her Snapchat messages. She had hundreds of messages back and forth with a guy she worked with at the restaurant, even messages while we were together that evening. This guy is 45, overweight, and a fry cook. Whereas I am objectively very attractive, fit, an engineer with good pay and a stable career. There were messages about how they can't stop thinking about each other, him calling her baby constantly and her responding with kissy heart emojis. I told her what I saw. I told her I'm done. There's no coming back from betrayal like this for me. It hurts me so deeply to know that she cared so little about me that she would jump to basically anyone else that showed her attention. I took care of this woman's every need for 10+ years and she discarded me like I'm trash. I'm hurting so deeply and everyone is giving me their sympathy, but not one person around me truly understand what I'm feeling. Wife of 2 years caught cheating. It all went down in September. My wife out of nowhere had decided that we should move across the state for her job. Her job could be done anywhere, but she definitely needed to move to this specific town. We went about putting our house up for sale on contingency, and I had applied for another job that would be possibly hiring me in 6 months and paid quite a bit more. We had tons of animals and plans were made for moving them. The kids were hers in another month, so plans were set in place for visitation and permission was gotten for the move. She would start driving the 5 hours every week to look at the houses we found, and I would take care of the animals and kids on the weekends she did this. She hired a realtor that she knew from her work as a loan officer, and we finally found a house we liked. Everything was set to go and we were closing in 10 days on the new house. That's when she informed me that since we were struggling in our relationship, she would like me to stay with my mother on this side of the state until I got my new job in 6 months and we can work on our relationship from afar. We had a long talk about it, and during the talk I got a feeling that something was up and got suspicious. So I pulled the memory card on her dash cam. Multiple conversations with a man about how much she loves him and hinting at having him move into the new house. Multiple conversations of her belittling me and talking about how much she can't wait until they are together. So I decided I would not be signing the paper on the new house. 2 days later I got a call from her friend's husband who wanted to let me know she was cheating and who it was. It was the realtor that she hired. So she was planning on having me co-sign on a house for her and her new boyfriend, and then also have him make about $12,000 off of the whole thing. After finding out about who it was, I called and informed his wife about it. She was happy for the heads up, and now they are also divorced and she got their savings. So now my ex-wife is stuck living with him in their fifth wheel. She couldn't have her 3 kids in a 1-bedroom fifth wheel, so she had to give up custody to their loving father. We couldn't keep the animals because our house did sell, for very little, because she was desperate to move, and he is about to get a very big fine from the Realtors Association for an ethical violation. Lastly, his wife and I had a lot in common, so now we are dating and taking it very slow. That's my story of catching my wife cheating. So my wife 32F cheated on me 26M, and she doesn't get it. For the past 6 months or so my marriage has been awful. She's been mean and demanding, leaving for hours and leaving the kids with me unattended when I slept. She kept wanting things that we couldn't afford, and she never really kept a job, barely cleaned, didn't wanna cook, didn't manage the finances, and half-assed watched our kids. I wanna say I've been bad or had some shit wrong with me, but even our therapist was so on my side it felt like she was trying to embarrass my wife. I was already getting very sick of the relationship for a fat-ass minute, but I stuck it out for the kids and I was biding my time. Cut to about a week ago I found out she has been seeing her ex-husband behind my back, and crazy thing, it was all those times when I would be woken up to my kids screaming an hour or 2 after I got to sleep from working night shift. So I started gathering evidence and made sure to keep things on the down low. I did normal things I would usually do while I got screenshots, timestamps and so on. The real kicker was that she cheated with someone who was also cheating, and the woman of that man contacted me to tell me about it. The paramour who slept with my wife was desperate to stay with the girl who told me, and she was able to get his full participation. I got screenshots and an admittance that he did sleep with her. Timestamps and when and where they met. I was planning a lil date with my wife to take her out and then confront her with the news that I knew, but she got on my phone and saw I was talking to her ex-husband and the other girl and my sister-in-law too about the whole situation. After I had my sister-in-law text my wife as her ex-husband and she was telling him she loved him and wanted to be with him and all kinds of shit. I got those screenshots too. She blocked and deleted everything, but I already had 3 backups and 2 of my friends had their own copy in a zip file. I recorded my confrontation and got a verbal admittance where she did say, yes, I slept with. Now here we are 2 or 3 days later and she doesn't get it. I've been talking to a lawyer and told him about everything I got against her. He says it'd probably be best to see if we can come up with an agreement. I want primary custody of the kids and I want my house. When I told my wife about us splitting, she was adamant about not leaving her kids, and I told her she's not losing her kids and she doesn't really have a place to go, especially BC. I think her mom doesn't want to be involved. Her mom always liked me, but I don't like the men she dates and I don't want my kids around them. Anyways, I told her we can be civil about all this and we ain't gotta get a contested divorce, and she keeps using the word separated and she's been on her PS and QS lately and keeps asking if and how she can fix it, and I'm starting to feel bad for myself and for her. What should I do? I 30M confronted my wife 26F about cheating and it went sideways. My wife and I have been married 4 years and together for almost 6. We have 2 children together, 2 and 3-year-old girls. The last year of our relationship has been a roller coaster of emotions and without a doubt the toughest year of our marriage lives. About 3 months ago, the business I worked at closed, and she began starting work. Our marriage was rocky at that time, and since the transition, we have talked about separation multiple times. Since starting work, she has talked multiple times about how much male attention she gets, and TBH I'm not a jealous guy, and was supportive of her feeling good about herself and whatnot. She'd been a stay-at-home mom for 3 years as well as definitely having an awkward, ugly duckling phase that lasted basically her whole life up until we met, so I was very happy she felt confident in herself. I started to hear the same names over and over again and began to get suspicious. This last week, we fought horrendously. Separated one day. Together the next, just absolutely going through it. A few days ago, our youngest daughter messed with my wife's diary and dumped the contents onto our bed. A phone number on a sheet of paper fell out, and my wife panicked and snatched it all up. I couldn't just ignore everything anymore. I should preface that this whole week prior, my wife and I had came up with a plan together to work on our marriage and move forward with it together. The plan was mostly her design. I have a tendency to be the only one who makes plans, so I wanted to give her the reins, but in the process of doing it we had agreed that we were still going to be together. However, our goals were to fix ourselves as individuals first and then as a couple. We kind of lost ourselves completely while married and wanted to get our own identities back. We were to live separately to do so, but also agreed that we weren't dating anyone else. My wife swore that she would never sleep with anyone else or date anyone else, and that it was ridiculous because she had so many other priorities above that and would never do that to me on even the basis of friendship levels, let alone our connection through our relationship. I did an awful thing and I read her diary. I know. I broke into her safe space and I felt horrible about it. With all the things she had been saying, being secretive, the number that fell out. Before I read anything I called the number that had fallen out and it went straight to the voicemail of the guy whose name I'd heard the most. I couldn't take it anymore and I read through the last few entries in her diary and discovered that the number was in fact a customer from her work and she had been texting him. She also wrote that she was planning on leaving me for him and was conflicted about what to do. I confronted her about it when she came home that night. At first, I asked her to tell me the truth if there was anything that had happened while we were fighting and working on things that she wanted to tell me about, and said that I had heard a name mentioned multiple times by her at work and wanted to know if there was anything there. She lied and said no and that she was committed to working on us. A fight ensued, and since she lied I knew our marriage was basically over, so I told her I had read her diary. We fought again for another few hours and then it mellowed out and she leveled with me about a lot of things. It felt real. She told me we'd lost our spark and that it felt so good to be treated like that by someone else. She told me that she did have the desire to sleep with him but that not enough to act on it, and it was more of the fantasy of it than anything else. She also told me he had encouraged her to work on our marriage and was actually supportive even if he was forward about his intentions of wanting to sleep with her. We put a pin in it for the night and woke up the next morning and started into the arguing again. I was fired up and had one of those mic drop moments in an argument where there's not much you can really do afterwards besides think. I went outside to get some fresh air and a few minutes later she followed me outside. Everything about her body language and attitude changed. She leveled with me as a person and told me everything she felt. She felt so powerful as a woman coming into her femininity, and she loved the feeling of being flirted with that way by men, but she wanted to be able to entertain that and still come home to me. In the go out and have a drink or two with a stranger and come home to your husband every night kind of thing. She was affirming in so many different ways that I was the only person she ever wanted to sleep with or be with, and that our marriage needed to evolve. I agreed completely, and things like that had always been a mild fantasy of mine as well. To have a woman as your wife that radiates that kind of energy and appeal. In the middle of talking all this out and the excitement of finally sharing a truth and the realization that we had finally found some common ground, she spills the beans that she had sexted him during their conversations. I was so ready to forgive everything that had happened and move on with our marriage. I didn't think about the fact that what she said meant that when she leveled with me the night before and told me everything about her and the guy she was texting, that those words were also a lie. I know opinions on cheating are back and forth. If there wasn't sex, it wasn't cheating. We both believe that emotional cheating is a thing and that sexting is also a form of it. Even if she actually slept with someone else, I wouldn't have cared. I'm not a possessive person at all. I just can't get past the fact that she lied to me so much in a week. She's known by everyone for being honest to a fault and genuine. It's her most endearing quality. She admitted she knows she's having a quarter-life crisis, and having had one at a point as well. I understand this isn't a testament to who she is as a person. I just don't trust her when I look at her, and I don't know if I ever will again because of how effortlessly she lied. I can't tell if it's because this just happened and it'll get better over time, or if I'll always feel this way and I don't know what to do. Her intentions seem real to work on our marriage. She looks at me lovingly and is putting in effort. I just don't know if I can get past it. I can't help but feel her desire to work on our marriage is because she doesn't know if financially she can be secure without my support. That's all for today's story, but remember, if you or someone you know is going through a tough time in their relationship, don't hesitate to reach out for help. Thanks for tuning into Channel Name, and we'll see you next time.